I hadn't heard from my son in 4 years. Not a text, not a call, not even a forwarded meme on Mother's Day. So when I opened the door and saw the package, sleek and black with a gold ribbon, I stood frozen on the porch like someone had mailed me a ghost. There was no return address, just my name, Rosa Mendoza, written in his exact handwriting, the kind that always looked too precise, like it was printed from memory instead of written with feeling. I carried it inside like it might shatter. The box smelled faintly of lavender and spice, expensive. Inside was a handcrafted wellness set, tea leaves wrapped in silk sachets, amber vials of capsules, a wood-handled infuser, and a folded card. I unfolded it slowly. To the woman who made me strong, for your peace, finally, Jordan. My hands trembled as I set it down. Tucked under the card was a voice chip embedded in the lid, blinking red. When I touched it, his voice filled the room, calm, slow, rehearsed. Let this be your cleansing. That same afternoon, Amira, Jordan's wife, now 7 months along, stopped by with a tray of baked empanadas and a soft smile. She was one of the few pieces of him that hadn't disappeared with the silence. I made tea, hers with a sachet from the new box. She took 2 sips, complimented the aroma, said it reminded her of a spa she'd visited during their honeymoon. 2 hours later, she collapsed in my kitchen. I'll never forget the sound of the mug breaking or the way her eyes rolled back like the light had been switched off. I knelt beside her, shaking, whispering her name. She didn't respond. She's not waking up, Rosa, the paramedic said when they arrived. What was in that tea? I couldn't answer because I had no idea what Jordan had really sent me. Would you drink a gift from someone who cut you off? Comment below. And subscribe for more stories where karma whispers, then screams. I remember the sound of the little feet running through this house. Jordan at 6, hair a wild mess, laughing as he poured tea from a plastic pot into my favourite cup. This one's for you, Mama, he'd say, grinning. Some mornings I still set out 2 mugs, one for me, one for the version of my son who might suddenly come home. The house is quiet now, too quiet. It echoes when I walk, even in slippers. I live in a modest single-story tucked at the edge of a quiet suburb outside Houston. Spanish tile roof, creaky screen door, a stubborn lemon tree in the backyard that hasn't borne fruit since my husband died. That was 6 years ago. Cancer took him faster than we could spell it. Since then, it's just been me and the silence. I retired from teaching 2nd grade right after he passed. 40 years of kids calling me Ms. Mendoza, and then just no one calling at all. Jordan was all I had left. He was always different. Too smart for his own good. Too quiet in crowds, too intense when things didn't go as he planned. But I adored him. He was my miracle. And maybe that was my first mistake, loving him with too much weight, trying to fill every absence in his life, even the ones he hadn't named. When he was 25, after his first viral video, he stopped returning my calls. 2 weeks later, I got a voice note. Mom, I need space. You control everything. I can't breathe with your expectations hovering over me. I'm detoxing from the noise, starting with you. He called me toxic, like I was something he had to cleanse from his bloodstream. I cried for 3 days. I screamed into dish towels, and then I mailed him a sweater for Christmas, like I did every year before. No reply, no return, not even a text that it arrived. He became someone I could only watch on a screen. Coach J. Thousands of followers, quick smiling, sharp-jawed. He taught people how to reclaim peace from poisonous relationships. Gave TEDx talks in turtlenecks about cutting emotional umbilicals. The first time I saw one of his videos, I stood in my kitchen, still holding a spoon mid-stir. I couldn't breathe. That's how he saw me. But I kept sending gifts. For his birthday, for their anniversary, for the day he got his blue check mark, nothing ever came back. Until yesterday, a buzz on my phone. Delivery complete, wellness box signed and left at porch. I stared at the screen, unsure if my fingers had imagined it. After all this time, why now? We teach children to say thank you, but no one teaches mothers what to say when their child leaves them without a goodbye. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time just staring at the box. It looked so out of place, a perfect little promise against the battered surface, like a trophy someone forgot to win. The gold ribbon was knotted with careful hands. I traced it with my finger, wondering when my son had become so precise. Inside, the layers were endless. Glass jars filled with pastel pills, each one unmarked. A folded slip of paper, no writing, just a printed QR code and the subtle scent of mint and something wilder beneath. The tea was packed in silk sachets, dark green flecked with gold, like something a shaman might carry instead of a grocer. I scanned the code, more out of curiosity than trust. It led to a locked website, Jordan Lee's healing room. I recognized his photo, white shirt, easy grin, haloed by faux sunlight. His blog talked about peaceful separations and detoxifying ancestral ties. It felt like reading my own obituary, written in wellness jargon. Before I could think further, the doorbell rang. Amira's voice floated in from the porch, soft and apologetic. "Sorry for no warning, Mama Rosa. I had a doctor's appointment nearby. Just wanted to say hi before I head home." She looked tired, one hand on her belly, lips pale. "The baby's got me queasy all day," she confessed as I ushered her inside. "Smells are a battlefield." I pressed her to sit. "Just for a moment," I urged. "Let me make you tea. It's from Jordan. He sent it for me for peace." She smiled weakly. "Your son, the guru, does he always gift like this?" I laughed. "Only when he wants to make a point." The tea steamed gold in the cup, floral and strange. Amira sipped, then blinked. "It's his blend," she said, nodding. "He said it was made for me, you know. Before we married, he'd always talk about cleansing, about rituals for new beginnings." She finished the cup slowly, talking about the baby's nursery and how Jordan never let her buy blue paint. By the time she left, the sun was rolling away and my kitchen had the heavy hush of late afternoon. Then my phone rang. It was Amira's number, but another woman's voice answered. "Is this Mrs. Mendoza? I'm a nurse at Memorial. Your daughter-in-law collapsed at home. She's here and we're running tests." My heart seized. "Is she... She's stable. We're trying to determine what happened." I tried to think. I ran through the hours, the sips, the words, the pills and teas, the QR code, the blog. I couldn't shake the sense that this wasn't an accident. This doesn't feel like food poisoning. This feels like it has intent. At the hospital, the air was sharp with antiseptic. Machines beeped behind curtains. A nurse approached, clipboard in hand, voice neutral but curious. "Did your daughter-in-law ingest anything herbal, natural, detox-related recently? Anything unusual?" I hesitated, the memory of Jordan's gift suddenly heavy as stone in my hands. Why does a peace offering feel so much like a warning? The first night after Amira was hospitalized, I barely slept. My house, already too quiet, became a cavern of echoing dread. Every creak of the floorboards felt like a warning. I couldn't shake the memory of Amira's limp hand on the hospital sheet. The colour drained from her lips. The question wouldn't leave me. What did I serve her? At 3 a.m, unable to lie still, I went back to the kitchen. The box from Jordan was still there, closed now, as if the act of sealing it might keep the horror inside. I unpacked it piece by piece, careful not to disturb anything. That's when I found it, a tiny glass vial wedged beneath the crumpled tissue at the bottom. No label, just a thin rim of white powder stuck to the inside. I held it up to the light. The residue glimmered almost innocent. "What the hell is this?" My heart pounded. My hands trembled so hard I nearly dropped it. I tucked the vial in a sandwich bag, wiped my prints from the glass, and placed it in my purse. Before dawn, I dialed Anna Ramos, a friend from the district science fair days, now head tech at a private toxicology lab. She answered on the second ring, groggy but alert. "It's urgent, Anna. I need you to test something for me, discreetly." By noon, I'd delivered the vial to her back door, avoiding the front lobby like I was smuggling contraband. She promised results by the next day. I sat in my car afterward, staring at my hands gripping the wheel so tightly the veins bulged. Was I crazy? Was I finally turning into the monster he'd always accused me of being? That afternoon, I let myself fall back into memories I usually kept locked away. Jordan at 7, hiding in the pantry for hours. He'd lined up all the cans in colour order, refusing to come out no matter how gently I coaxed him. When he finally did, he was silent, his face blank, and I snapped, I slapped him. The sound echoed off the pantry door, louder in my memory than it ever was in real life. He never forgave me. I never forgave myself. Was that where it all started? Was I always the poison? I tried to distract myself with cleaning, but my mind wandered. The QR code from the box still lingered in my phone's history. I went back to Jordan's private blog, clicking deeper than before, until I stumbled onto a link in the footer, reclaimheartmothers.org. It was a forum, anonymous. Dozens of users sharing stories of freeing themselves from maternal chains. There were posts about detoxes, cutting umbilicals, and a mod named J. Leon. I scrolled, the pit in my stomach growing heavier. One post caught my eye. "Let this be your cleansing. Some wounds must be cauterized, not coddled." The same words as Jordan's voice memo, nearly verbatim. The writing, short, sharp, clinical, sounded so much like him. I felt sick. I copied and pasted it into a notepad, my hands shaking. I texted Anna, "Is it possible for herbal ingredients to be dangerous, like not just medicinal but really toxic?" She called almost instantly. "The ingredients here aren't just medicinal. Some are dangerously dose sensitive. Whoever made this knows exactly what they're doing, Rosa. This isn't some health fad." My mouth went dry. "He's been posting anonymously about erasing maternal influence. I think he's trialling it, Anna. On me." There was a silence. Then Anna said, her voice flat and final, "Rosa, you need to sit down. What we found in that tea isn't legal." And for the first time since my son left, I felt true, bone-deep fear, not just for me, but for every mother whose child might believe a clean break is worth any price. Sometimes what we call wellness is just revenge in disguise. I told myself I was visiting as a courtesy, a simple gesture for Amira's sake. I arrived at Jordan's new apartment just after 3, a bouquet of lilies trembling in my hand. The building was glass and steel, every surface reflecting the world back at you until you almost disappeared. He buzzed me in without a word. He answered the door with that familiar half-smile, one that never quite reached his eyes. He looked thinner than I remembered, sharper around the jaw, his hair swept back like he was always ready for an audience. "Mom," he said, voice light as feathers, "this is a surprise. Come in." His living room was immaculate, nothing out of place, a wall of books, half wellness, half marketing. Awards lined the shelf beneath his big screen. I let my eyes wander, searching for some trace of the boy I'd raised. But the room felt staged, cold. I set the flowers on the table. My phone, already recording, sat heavy in my coat pocket. "I wanted to check in on Amira," I said, my tone careful, rehearsed. "She collapsed after visiting. The doctors think it might be something she ingested." Jordan's eyes flickered for a moment, then smoothed over. She'll be fine. Stress, you know. Pregnancy is tough. Tea can be unpredictable too. I studied him. She said the ginger biscuit was her favourite. I didn't expect her to go for that one. He went completely still. Just a flicker, barely there, but I saw it. The ginger? That's odd, he replied too quickly. I didn't think you'd share the cookies yet. He hadn't sent any cookies, only tea and pills. I let the moment hang, watching him try to retrieve the words. I pressed on, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I noticed something strange in the box, I said, voice tightening. A little vial, powder inside. You didn't mention it. Jordan's lips curled into something close to annoyance. You're always searching for threats, aren't you, Mom? Always the detective. I slid my phone a little further out in my pocket, thumb ready on the audio app. I found your forum, I continued quietly. Reclaim Mothers. The moderator, J. Leon, posts about cleansing, cauterizing wounds that never heal. One entry matches your voice memo exactly. He walked to the kitchen, started washing a spotless glass that didn't need cleaning. The silence stretched. You always needed silence, didn't you? He said suddenly, his back to me. Maybe that's what this is about, giving you what you wanted all along. I stared at him, voice shaking now. You knew exactly which cookie she ate. I never told you. You watched us, even when you weren't here. He turned, glass still in hand, face a mask. Then, without warning, he stepped in front of the door, his shadow cutting off my path. You're always so quick to run, aren't you? He murmured, voice lower than before. Maybe this time you should stay and listen. My pulse hammered. I tried to steady my voice. You can't keep me here, Jordan. He stared for a long, cold second, then forced a smile, stepping aside just enough. Go on, Mum. That's what you're best at. I felt the temperature in the room drop. This wasn't healing. This was punishment. I reached for the vial in my purse, placed it gently on the counter. Anna ran tests. There's aconitum in the tea. Enough to kill if the dose was higher. His eyes narrowed. You're being dramatic. Herbal remedies are misunderstood. You never trusted me even now. I forced myself to stand my ground. This isn't about trust. This is about intent. About the things you're willing to do for a clean break. For a split second I wondered if he would lunge. Instead, he just smiled. Cold, distant, the smile of a man who'd already written his ending. I stepped back, moving toward the door. My heart was thudding so loud it drowned out his last words. You should go, he said softly. There's nothing left here for you. I left without looking back, the recorder still running, hands shaking as I pressed the elevator button. Once in the lobby, I dialed Anna. My voice barely held steady. I have the audio, I have the vial, and I'm sending everything. She answered with a grave edge I'd never heard before. Rosa, you're not the only one. Another mother came in this morning, same symptoms, same brand of wellness box. He's not just after you. Standing in the cold Houston air, the city buzzing around me, I realized that betrayal doesn't always arrive with a shout. Sometimes it waits behind a locked door, smiling as it twists the knife. Sometimes the people we raise become strangers with motives darker than we could ever imagine. The days that followed were a blur, a numb, dragging ache that settled into the walls of my house. Police cars, questions, paperwork. Jordan never called, never tried to explain. When they came for him, he went quietly, offering no resistance. His face was everywhere, trending hashtags, split-screen debates on morning shows, TikTokers dissecting his healing routines, and comment sections full of strangers debating whether mothers like me deserved what happened. One video showed my porch, blurred out with the caption, "Would you trust your mum with this gift?" I watched it play out from my kitchen, the same room where I'd poured that cursed tea. There was no satisfaction in any of it, only grief, only the hollow echo of a mother's last defence crumbling to dust. Amira woke 2 days after the arrest. The nurses said she asked for water for her mother, not for Jordan. She didn't want to see him. I visited her the next week when she came home, her belly still round, eyes rimmed with fear and exhaustion. I brought flowers. She hugged me and didn't let go for a long time. Healing shouldn't come in silence or powder, I whispered, smoothing her hair like she was a child again. She squeezed my hand, eyes shining with tears. I almost let him decide what was right for me and my baby, she whispered. No more. I want peace, but my own kind. We held each other, both changed, both survivors. For the first time, I wondered if surviving meant learning to forgive not just him, but myself. The day her son was born, she texted me a photo, a healthy boy with dark curls. She named him Matteo, after her father, and in that moment, I felt something quietly right the world, if only by a margin. I went home and gathered the evidence, the audio drive, the doctor's report, the tiny folded note from the box. For your peace, I slid them all into a fireproof tin and tucked it high in my closet. Maybe someday someone would need to know the truth, or maybe it was enough that I did. I took the QR flyer with Jordan's brand and watched it curl and blacken in the sink under a match flame. The smoke rose and was gone, leaving only the scent of scorched paper and the faintest hint of spice. That evening I brewed a new tea for myself, chamomile and honey, nothing fancy. I watched it steam on the stove, sunlight curling across my kitchen table. No rituals, no healing, just a quiet act of survival. I may never understand him, but I understand what he became. Sometimes all you can do is choose your own medicine and let the rest burn away. Sometimes in the quiet of the evening I find myself standing by the front window, mug of tea warming my palms, watching the world turn outside. There's a calm now, thin, delicate, hard-earned. Tonight, as the streetlights flicker on, a courier in a bright blue jacket parks at the curb. I watch him stroll up the path to the house across from mine, hands full. He sets down a sleek, familiar box, black, gold-ribboned, almost identical to the one that changed everything for me. A shiver travels up my spine. I pressed my hand to the glass, lips parted as my neighbour reached for the box. For a split second I considered running across the street, warning her, telling her everything, but I just stood, frozen. Would you interfere? Or would you stay silent, hoping the past doesn't repeat? How many mothers out there are still sipping, trusting? How many gifts arrive dressed as kindness, carrying something colder underneath? Would you ever question a gift from your own blood, or fear someone you raised? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for weekly stories where karma always whispers, and sometimes shouts.